Please remain standing. Good morning. Some of you looking at the other person saying, he sure doesn't look like Cecil Williams. My name's Gordon Barranco. I'm a member of the Glide Board. Cecil will not be here today. Yesterday he spoke at the University of California at Berkeley. He was a commencement speaker for the School of Social Work. Today he is in Miami, Florida, speaking at First Presbyterian Church in Miami, Florida. I think so many of us want to encourage Cecil to do things like this. We are so selfish and so possessive of him, and he feels he has to be here every Sunday. So we're very, very happy that he's spreading his word and spreading his message in all these other places. I told the people at 9 o'clock, last time I did this, I told Cecil afterwards, I said, Cecil, it got so good to me, I was ready to lead a prayer. And Cecil frowned at me, and as a result, he wrote a prayer for me to read to you. So if you could all just join hands, please. And please listen to the words. Our God, we stand in the midst of the people, seeking to have our hearts, our minds, and souls, our lives changed. Changed in our concern to feed the world, to reach the unreachable, to touch those whose spirits are broken, to reach those who are down, who are in despair, in the streets, who have no place to go. We who come this morning offer our care and compassion to the unaccepted and the unacceptable. No one is unacceptable in your eyes, God. We reach out so that the killing of brothers and sisters will cease, so that the violence assaulting our young people will cease, so that the siege of bombs, bullets, and tools of destruction, so that war will cease. We pray for peace. Real peace that passes all understanding, that we might come here and show our love for humankind. We are blessed to be here together this morning. Walk that walk, talk that talk. Amen and amen. Carolyn is going to lead us in the song, This Little Light of Mine.
This little light of mine
One of the things we do here at Glide, and we don't do it routinely, but we do it because we feel like it, is to greet one another, turn around and hug each other and embrace each other. Wish each other good morning. I want to tell you that I was present at the 9 o'clock celebration today, and the stories that you are going to hear today are really something to behold. That you are really going to be treated this morning to a number of stories. But right now, you're going to be treated to the music of the Glide Ensemble.
By the wayside of life, dreams and visions shattered, you are broken inside. You don't have to stay in the shape that you're in. The potter wants to put you back together again. Oh, the potter wants to put you back together again. In case your situation has turned upside down, and all that you've accomplished is now on the ground. You don't have to stay in the shape that you're in. The potter wants to put you back together again. Oh, the potter wants to put you back together again. You
center of my joy. All that's good and perfect comes from you. You're the heart of my contentment, hope for all I do. Jesus, you're the center of my joy.
When I've lost my direction, you're the compass for my way. You're the fire and light when nights are long and cold. In sadness, you're the laughter that comes on my way. When I'm all alone, your hand is there to hold. Jesus, you're the center of my holy joy. All that's good and perfect comes from you. In the simple things in life, you're the music in the meadows and the strings of voices of the children, my family and my home. You're all the source and finish of my home. soul, and then he made me whole, and then he washed my sins, and gave me peace within. I got the victory, 'cause now I'm free, and I'm not ashamed to say I've been born again. Ooh, I'm born again. I must confess that I've been truly blessed. Oh yes, I've been born again. Say, I've been born again. My name and it made me whole, and I've been born again. He wrote my name in the sea of love, and I've been born again. There's no doubt that he brought me out, and I've been born again. I must confess that I've been blessed, and I've been born again. Lord, the Lord, he heard my cry, and I've been born again. See my Savior by and by, Lord, I've been born again. I've been born, I've been born again. I've been born, 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 I've been
Thank you to the Glide Ensemble, and thank you to the musicians. After the offering, the Glide Ensemble will be back to sing again for us. My name is Charlotte Kwan, and I'm a member of the board, and I want to welcome all of you that are visiting for the first time, and especially I want to welcome our international visitors. We're in the tour books in many countries, in Japan and Germany and Sweden, and sometimes people come as curiosity to see what's going on. But I hope that those that have come for curiosity will come and see that here there's love, there's hope, and we certainly hope for peace in the world, where all of you come from. And at this time, I would like for all of the international visitors in the balcony and below to stand, please, so we can know what countries you come from. Truly, truly, this is an international flavor. We had them from Italy, Morocco, Sweden, Switzerland, Australia, Germany, France, or from any other places. Mexico, England, Morocco, all of you, welcome, welcome. And prior, the ensemble, sang the songs that in the Potter's house, we hope to you, this will be the Potter's house, and that you'll find love there. And after you find love, you'll be born again because the Spirit is moving.
Go, Charlotte.
Would you stand and sing, "The Spirit is Moving"? Please, thank you. The Spirit is moving to set you free. Hallelujah. Spirit's moving to set us free. Hallelujah. Brothers walk and don't get tired. Hallelujah. Brothers walk and don't get tired. Hallelujah. Sisters speak and don't give up. Hallelujah. Sisters speak and don't give up. Hallelujah. We all have the power to free. Hallelujah. We all have the power to free. Hallelujah. We shall free the lonely one. Hallelujah. We shall free the lonely one. We shall free the fearful one. The fearful ones. Hallelujah. We shall fear the prayerful ones. Hallelujah. We shall free the phony ones. The phony ones. Hallelujah. We shall free the phony ones. Hallelujah. We shall free the uptight ones. The uptight ones. Hallelujah. We shall free the uptight ones. Hallelujah. Come and walk and talk with me. Hallelujah. Come and walk and talk with me. Hallelujah. You have the power and now you're free. Hallelujah. You have the power and now you're free. Hallelujah. You have the power and now you're free. Hallelujah. You have the power and now you're free.
Good morning. My name is Janice Mirikitani, and it really is rare that I am here while Cecil is away. But I get to experience you, and it's really wonderful to see what a tribute you are to his leadership, because I really believe it is a great leader, a true leader, who can leave and the people carry on. And I want to say to those who are here for the first time, who may be disappointed that he is not here, that you will simply have to come back next week. We also have the faith that when one or more of us gather in her name, that the Spirit abides. I want to thank the Glide Ensemble, the band, Mr. Turk, Mr. Howell, Mr. Lieber, Mr. Wells, Mr. Scales. I want to thank Lisa. And Lisa, I have a hard time with your last name. Lisa the signer, who is here faithfully every Sunday. I want to thank Gordon Barranco, Judge Gordon Barranco, and Charlotte Kwan, and you will be hearing from Amy Errett. You've heard from Ben Bowser. These are all members of our board, and aren't you comforted and pleased to know that we have an involved and participating board? They are not removed somewhere out there, up there. They are here amidst us. And I want the children to stand up. I want to acknowledge them. They did such a wonderful job last week. They did such a wonderful job last week. They sang for us. And we also want to invite any of the children out there in the congregation who want to join the choir. You rehearse on Sundays at 12:30 here in the sanctuary. So it's a great, great new day for the choir, the kids. Thank you. I know that Cecil at this very moment, I believe it's 2 o'clock in Miami, is speaking. And I know that we are present with him because I know that he is talking about you. I know that he is taking the message about justice and compassion and liberation to all. And I understand that in Miami, the mayor and other dignitaries will be present and need to hear his message and hopefully will experience his unconditional love. Cecil has asked me to send his love to you and asked me to make a brief statement about spirituality and then introduce our speakers to you. Now that he is not here today, it is a great opportunity for me to tell you some things about him. And I know you won't tell on me. Yeah, he will listen to the tape. One day, Cecil and I were walking on the street, and a bus stopped at its bus stop. It was very crowded, and people were standing and sitting and looking grim and staring out the window. Suddenly, a man shouted very loudly from the bus, "Cecil Williams, I love you!" And Cecil yelled back, "Love the people on the bus." Love the people on the bus. You and I, timing is impeccable. You and I, we've got to love the people on the bus. We may not want to, but spirituality is not about loving just those who are easy to love, like the ones who look like us. What Cecil and what we have created, hopefully at Glide, is a place where we work to love unceasingly, to be that spiritual home where all people are accepted. Cecil has said that the Spirit is like the wind, and the wind is each of us. We should not close our doors to it, because so many of us have walked around with our windows and our doors closed, haven't we? But the wind is not discriminating. It touches everyone. The people in the doorsteps, under the freeways, in the hospital HIV/AIDS wards, in prisons. It does not elect to blow exclusively upon the cathedrals on high hills or the pristine parlors of properness. We feel that the Spirit is present when we open our doors to the risers of the Glide Ensemble, who, like Maya Angelou says, holds God in their throats. And when we open the doors to our secrets, our pain and addiction, our recovery and our resurrection, when we are released by the truth from that which enslaves us, when the truth mirrors our stories and connects us all to each other. I believe that that spirituality is not wishy-washy or syrupy. It is powerful and formidable in its pursuit of justice and liberation and peace. It blows strongly in our midst when we come together to protest war and injustice and homophobia and violence and subhuman treatment of poor people or women, immigrants, Haitians, children, prisoners, or the environment, to name a few. I think spirituality sweats in the kitchens of the hungry, with the hands of volunteers who are not afraid to get hot and messy, who are willing to put their elbows in the stew of compassion, in the gumbo of generosity, the pozole and the okazu, the fire pot of diversity. One of the most spiritual acts we say in our recovery programs is to define ourselves, to be authentic, not to look to others to tell us who we are, because they don't know you like you know you, as Cecil says. Self-definition does not depend on who you have around you, it depends on who you have within you. There are 3 people today who will be talking to you about spirituality and self-definition. And I will introduce all 3 at once in order of their presentations. Betty Manguel is a success story. She is a member of Glide and is from the Tenderloin, like Cecil says he is from Texas. A former homeless person, Betty knows the conditions in her bones, and she has the compassion, love, and power of one who has been liberated from that situation. She is now a tireless homeless advocate and organizer. Michael Alexander moved to San Francisco 5 years ago from Ashland, Ohio, where he served as a United Methodist minister at a local church. He is currently working at the California Pacific Medical Center Pediatric Department. Michael co-authored the Glide Gay, Lesbian, and Bisexual Families position paper to the United Methodist Church, which led to Glide's becoming a reconciling congregation. Lastly, Claire Rabat, a member of Glide for 15 years, is an Oakland psychotherapist who specializes in addiction and codependency recovery and the healing of adults from dysfunctional families, which she says is probably most of us in this room. She has presented numerous workshops, including those here at Glide on anger, and in the near future on blame and forgiveness. We will hear from Betty, Michael, and Claire.
You have no idea what looking out on this does for a person. All week long after my nephew passed, I wondered, am I going to be able to sit where I sat for nearly 10 years and look up here and not see him there? What was this going to do to me? But the sound, this place has an energy that's unbelievable. Do you ever hear the story, the Jewish story of this thing called a golem that comes when your life is at its lowest peak and energizes you, makes you big and strong. It's actually 10 feet tall, but it's nothing but energy. This is my golem. Every time I've been at my lowest peak, somehow God has brought me to Glide. I lived in a Tenderloin motel that for some reason faced this, directly across the street. They had told me, I'm a Roman Catholic. I don't go to, churches that have people standing around in lines, people that I don't want to touch me. Just because I happen to end up messed up and poor and want to die in a Tenderloin, I still don't want those people near me. Every day I watched people eat. every day. My kids wouldn't come here. Oh, how could you? After you've gotten low enough, you're in the tenderloin. You want any lower? I start easing in little by little. And suddenly, I had more energy than I'd had in my life. I became the tenderloin fighter. Suddenly, I went out in the street. I went through my building with a baseball bat, stopping people from beating up children and seniors and disabled. I went through Bodeker Park. I went to the police station. If you can clean the streets of Pacific Heights, where's the money to clean the streets of the Tenderloin? I don't know where it came from. I don't know where that nerve came from. I looked around once, and here I get notified that I'm being honored. And I look at who's there. Janice Mirikitani, Father Flowers, Janet Gordon. What is my name doing with these people? What have I done? Nothing. I got mad. And then I went to Glide. How did that make me different or special? Suddenly, I was 10 feet tall. You can look at me. I'm 5'2". I weigh 100 pounds. How did I make a mayor come into my building and say, "Oh, you're so wonderful. You've got this going"? I don't know. It had to have been something stronger than me. And this week, when I was at my lowest point, wondering, how are we going to make it through this? I loved my nephew. My daughters were his best friends. How are we going to be this lonely? He called me every day. Almost every weekend, he was there. How am I going to go to Glide and look up there and not see Danny's face? I came here today, and I looked up there, and I see all his friends, and he's there. He's here. I don't feel so bad. And when we have the memorial next week, it's not a funeral. It's a celebration of a good life. Everybody here that doesn't know what it's like to live in the street, it doesn't matter if you walk by that street and you say, "Oh, why?" That's the stupidest question in the world, is why. What difference does that make anymore? Why? It's happened. It's here. AIDS is here. Homeless is here. Poverty is here. How it got here doesn't matter anymore. Your question better get to be, what can I do? Okay? No answer. Nobody's coming up with an answer until they get the right question. How are you going to answer something if you don't even know what you're asking? Quit saying why and ask, what am I going to do? Thank you.
Good morning. My name's Michael Alexander, and when Jan and Cecil called me and asked me to speak to you this morning, they gave me the topic of how the Glide community supports my spirituality. And that was easy. And it's easy because of stories like Betty's that I can come up here, and even though we have very different histories, I connect with her. I know exactly what it feels to be here at Glide and not be here with a loved one. And we're connected so much through our human experiences, despite all the differences around us. A year ago, I was asked to tell my story and to give the announcements. I did that during the 9 a.m. service on the day of the Gay and Lesbian Parade. And that was the first time that in front of a church body I told my whole story. I didn't hold back any secrets. I said that I was a gay United Methodist minister, that I was HIV positive, and that 3 weeks before my lover Enrique de la Rosa had died, and that Enrique and I had been regular attenders of Glide, and so many of the people here knew us from that. And I also said that I was ready to tell my bishop back in Ohio all about me. I was tired of holding in these secrets. I was tired of being disloyal to the relationships I had, mostly to Enrique. And I felt such tremendous support from the community at Glide that morning. And what I expressed is that I felt the Spirit. I felt the breath of God, the wind, as Jan described it earlier. I was filled with that breath from the response and support that I got from the community that morning. I want to tell you that that's very much in contrast to the response that I got from other people, other church people, in response to my letter of coming out. Some of these people were angry at me because I had been careless enough to become infected with HIV. A few of them were angry at my timing, that I hadn't come out to them sooner. One minister that I worked with very closely compared me to a smoker who developed cancer years after having smoked. And with few exceptions, these were the kinds of responses that I got. These letters were absent of any concern about my grief over the death of my partner. There was no sympathy about that, nor was there any concern about my HIV condition. And this even went as far as the response from my bishop. Bishop Edwin Bolton of the East Ohio Conference very politely accepted the surrender of my credentials, because some of you may not know, but by coming out as a gay minister, I could no longer be ordained or appointed and would have been subject to a trial and being removed from the office. And I wasn't going to do that. I just said, if this is what you want, here's the credentials. There was no response, no support from him. Now here at Glide, that's not the way it happens, thank God. What I felt from those letters and from those responses to my telling the truth about who I was, I felt kicked in the stomach, and the breath, my spirit went out of me. But when I tell my story at Glide, I feel connected. I am energized by the breath that comes to me from the singing of the Glide Ensemble, to Cecil's preaching, to people's honesty as they stand before us each week and tell the stories of their lives, the struggles that they've faced, and the victories that they've won. And we all are connected with that. And we can all breathe in that same spirit that is freed up in this wonderful place. Before I was able to do this, I was separated from my passion. I just remember being in front of the churches back in Ohio and preaching, and I couldn't move. I mean, we didn't move when we sang the hymns. We didn't clap. But here, I breathe in when Angela sings, or Imogene, or any of the other soloists. When people tell their stories, I breathe in and I'm alive. I can feel it all the way down to my toes. And it's ironic, because I know that I would have been a better preacher and a better minister being out and being honest about myself. I could have used... But instead of the church using my honesty and my story, there is heterosexism, homophobia, and I think a major problem in the church because of this. And I want you to know that one of the reasons that I promoted the idea of Glide becoming a reconciling congregation was it has been shown there are less than 100 United Methodist churches that are reconciling congregations that have stated and advertised that they're open to gays and lesbians and their ministry. But those churches are growing. And they're growing faster than any of the tens of thousands of other United Methodist churches there are. And I think that's because the Spirit is alive in those churches like it is here. And I want to thank you all for the community that you create every time you come here and every time you support Glide. I believe that we are changing things. The fact that we're growing affects conservative evangelical ministers that think that only their churches are growing. And I thank the straight people here who bring your children and who I think are changing the atmosphere in churches all across the world, and that you're allowing your children and those of us here to breathe in more fully the Spirit of God. And I thank you again.
Good morning. It's a privilege to be here. I'm Claire Robat, and I love being able to speak to my Glide family, even though I can't quite see you all with these bright lights. I'm going to try to distill a one-day workshop on anger into 5 minutes, so bear with me. I'm going to talk fast. I believe about anger that Spirit didn't give us anything we weren't supposed to have. Anger has been given to us as a signal that something's wrong, that we're hurting in some way, or that we're afraid we're going to be hurt, or perhaps we're being reminded of some time in the past when we were hurt. And that one's a pretty tricky one. It's hard to tell the difference sometimes. The hurt can be to us, or it can be to our brothers and sisters whenever we see injustice. But anger's purpose is not only to be a signal, it's also to give us the clarity, the strength, the courage, and the momentum to do something constructive about the hurt. Healthy anger comes from a place in our heart that hurts too much. It's strong enough to overcome hopelessness, despair, depression, and helplessness. It cuts right through confusion and fear and gives us clarity. We can use the energy of anger, that steam that we get, to do very difficult things, to be able to talk to our loved ones when we're afraid they might leave us, to go out and fight for justice when we'd rather stay at home on the couch and just tune out, to speak about injustice with all the passion that comes from our natural, angry reaction to being hurt or to seeing others being hurt. Many times when I talk about anger, I'm told by Christians that we shouldn't be angry, and I remind them that Jesus was very angry. Jesus went to the temple and overturned the tables of the moneylenders. He was angry when he saw his children, his brothers and sisters, being hurt. He was outraged about this, but he was also forgiving of other people's past actions, urging us to judge not, lest you be judged. Cecil's a wonderful model for us of that compassionate action. He distills his pain and his outrage at seeing us hurt ourselves or each other, and he turns it into a fiery passion that propels him into speaking out, into taking action against injustice. And Jan's poetry and dance often burns with anger at the pain of her own hurt and the hurt of seeing our pain. She helps us accept and work through the anger that's a natural stage of the grieving and healing process. There is a difference, however, between feeling passionately angry enough to right wrongs and using anger to hurt another or ourselves through resentment, revenge, blaming, obsessing, stewing, and other festering emotions. And this brings me to forgiveness. I invite you to look with me now at what forgiveness is and what it isn't. Forgiveness is simply letting go. That's all it is. It's not saying that what was done was okay. It's not minimizing or making excuses. It's not pretending it never happened. And it's not forgetting what happened. It's just freeing ourselves of the past, letting go of the pain in our hearts and letting them open again. And while it's not easy to forgive, it's worth it. And I don't suggest that you do it any too soon. Go through your anger, go through your rage, go through your tears, but someday have it as your intention to get to the forgiveness, the letting go, so you can be free. It's for you. It's for you. And for the world around you, because when you let go, then you can love the world. Practice it every day. Take a moment and see if you can open your heart to some small upset. Don't start with the big ones, then you sabotage yourself. It's too hard. Just take a moment and hold the person that you're angry with in your heart and say, I forgive you. You may have to fake it till you make it, but go on and try. And if you can't let go, forgive yourself for that. There's always an opportunity to forgive. And then notice what it cost you not to be able to forgive. Notice the tightness in your body and in your soul. It's for you. Again, I'm going to mention that. It's for you to forgive. Just see if you can open up your heart and let go. And most of all, forgive yourself. If you can't forgive yourself, you can't forgive anybody else. And if you can't forgive other people, you can't forgive yourself. Forgiveness is essential if there's ever to be peace in our hearts and in the world. And in the last few weeks, the election in South Africa and the treaty signing between the PLO and Israel have shown us people who are big enough to rise above the past, to focus on the present and the future. They stand in very marked contrast to Bosnia and Rwanda, where the inability to let go of old animosities is creating new tragedies. We can have no more dramatic lessons in forgiveness than these. I want to read a little bit from Mandela's inaugural speech. And remember, he invited the 3 white prison wardens who were in charge of his jails to his inauguration. When people asked him, why did you invite them? He said, I wanted them to share this because they had a part in it. He knew that our enemies are our teachers, that everybody has a place in the divine plan. Everybody has a place. I quote his words from the inaugural speech. The time for healing of the wounds has come. The moment to bridge the chasms that divide us has come. The time to build is upon us. Let us forget the past. What is done is done. Now that we have won, we have forgotten our differences and will move to heal the wounds of the past. Out of the experience of an extraordinary human disaster that lasted far too long must be born a society of which all humanity must be proud. I never thought I'd live to see the day. Thank you. We at Glide are a very powerful community of lovers of peace and equality. So let's come together right here, right now, in this very moment, and begin to create a world free of hatred and divisions, free of us and them. If you're willing, please join me right now by going deeply into your heart. From that place, in your own words, create an intention that there be peace and equality in the world through forgiveness, through letting go, through coming together, despite our differences, to create a world where joy and love are our ruling principles. I'll be quiet for a moment while you go into your heart and create your intention right now. Thank you. As you go through your daily life, please pause and reaffirm this commitment to yourself and to Spirit. I'd love to be able to share more with you about using anger in healthy, constructive ways and the freedom that comes with bringing forgiveness into your life. I'll be giving a talk on June 14th down here in Freedom Hall at 6 o'clock on blame, shame, and forgiveness that'll be sponsored by the Relationships Group here at Glide. It's free. You're all invited, and you can get a flyer on it downstairs at the volunteer table. And just remember, as Cecil's song says, it's all about breaking free. Thank you, and peace be with you.
Betty and Michael. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Michael, Claire, and Betty. They will be downstairs in Freedom Hall if you want to talk to them after the celebration. Thank you very much. And I forgot to thank Carolyn Huggins, who's been leading us in the music this morning. Just remember, love the people on the bus.
What a family we have. And I'm inviting you at this time to become part of the family. As a membership person, we get a chance to meet all of the people that are coming in. As he said, we've got gays and lesbians. We've got recovering Catholics. Claire is an Arab Christian. We've got agnostics. We've got atheists. We've got Mormons. We have people of the Jewish faith. We have all kinds, so you're welcome. After the celebration, Teresa and Bonnie will be in the room right there to receive you. And let's let Cecil know that we did a wonderful job and we brought in many members today, and I want to thank you. And the most important part of the celebration, we bring to you Amy Everett, who's on our board. Amy?
Amy's in the house, yeah. Good morning, everyone. My name is Amy Everett, and I am a proud Glide family member as well as a board member. Good morning, ensemble. How are you? I'm going to get to introduce them later on. That's a real treat. We are going to take up the offering. And so if the ushers could start from the back, let me take a couple of minutes to tell you why I think it's so important for you to give at Glide. take a couple of minutes. Some of you have heard my story before, but I'll make this brief. I came to Glide about 3 years ago and came from a family who didn't do religion. So we didn't come to places like Glide. We were just sort of flat and dead. And for the most part, we didn't have what I didn't know we didn't have, which was called spirituality. I had no idea about that. But what I knew I had was a drinking problem, and I was an alcoholic. And I had found recovery about 2 years prior to walking into Glide. But my recovery, I believe, never really started until I walked into Glide. What I believe happened to me when I walked into Glide was that I found true recovery through my own spirituality and through finding out who I really was and listening to the Glide Ensemble, listening to Cecil, hearing the music, listening to Jan's poetry, and listening to the inspiring people like Betty and Michael that we have heard this morning. So thank you very much. So I would like you very much this morning to reach deep in your pockets. Cecil and I have a little wager that when he leaves town, I get to do the offering. The last time I did the offering, we got more money than when Cecil was here. And so don't let me down 11 o'clock. You're the heavy hitters here. 11 o'clock, we fill the house. And so I look forward to you reaching deep in your pockets. We have 35 programs at Glide that all need your support in terms of the kind of empowerment we give people and the kinds of things that get done here, which I contend don't happen in other parts of the world. So we thank you for that. I'd like to also do the announcements today, and a couple things happening down in Freedom Hall. We would like very much for you to join us in Freedom Hall right after the celebration and take home a reminder of the Glide experience. For those of you that are the first-time Glide people today, come down to Freedom Hall. There's lots of things to look at. For those of you who come to Glide often, you need more of Glide stuff. So come down to Freedom Hall. We have some very special things, including Cecil Williams' inspiring book. If you haven't read it, it's an amazing experience. It's called No Hiding Place. I think everyone in the world would benefit from reading that book. Another book called Watch Out, We're Talking, which is Glide family members speak out about incest and abuse. Again, an incredible book. Jan's dynamic book of poetry called Shedding Silences. We heard Jan this morning. That's just a little vignette of what Jan has written. So please buy that. The Glide's children's book, I Have Something to Say About This Big Trouble. Something new that's happening right up in that corner there where the organ is. We have somebody named Cope who is now doing videos of each of the Glide celebrations. So there are actually videos of the celebrations. The 9 o'clock this morning looked terrific, and if you buy one, they will be shipped to you tomorrow. So we are getting very responsive here at Glide. We are coming into the new age of getting you things very quickly, so I urge you to look at those videos. Also, there are audio tapes of today's celebration, some t-shirts with Glide sayings, CDs of the fabulous Glide Ensemble, and tapes, and lots more. So please come down to Freedom Hall as well. A couple of other things to talk about is for those of you who have been involved in the Peacemakers, there is and you're interested in joining the Environmental Committee, please meet today in room 506 right after this at 12:30. We'd love to have you come. And also we are announcing something called Cyber Circus, a gala benefit for computers and you to be held the evening of June 17th. For more information, the volunteer table at Freedom Hall has that. Okay, we want to talk about sending kids to camp. Where are you? Melissa? Melissa? She's hiding. We'll be right back. Hold on. Here she is. All right, Melissa, come on. Okay, Melissa and I have something really important to talk to you guys about. All right, we don't want to take no for an answer. So, Melissa needs to go to summer camp. And Glide has sponsored the Glide's Children's Summer Camp Fund. And you can actually make a donation down in the volunteers table. It's $50 for 1 week, $100 for 2 weeks. And actually at the 9 o'clock, and this is not a prop, this is real, Melissa received a check for $50, written right there. And Claire is going to do one quick thing about the summer camp, and then we're going to hear from Melissa about why you need to donate this.
Hi. My women's group, I'm telling you, I don't usually like to do things like this in public, but my women's group and I decided we wanted to send 2 kids to camp for 2 weeks this summer. So I want to present this check to Melissa, and I want to inspire you to do the same in your communities. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Okay, Melissa and I rehearsed this at the 9 o'clock. We're ready. Melissa, why do you want to go to summer camp?
I want to go to camp because it's fun. We go hiking, we go swimming, I meet new people, and we go to the nature center because they have a nature center there. And they do a lot of other things. It's fun.
All right, Melissa. Thank you very much. Melissa and I will be down in Freedom Hall, okay? Anyway, we get to do the most fun part of the whole celebration now. Melissa and I also did this at 9 o'clock. We have it down. So here we go. Melissa and I would proudly like to present to you the soulful, one and only rocking
Glide Ensemble.
Soldier, oh,